Peter leaned his head against the mast of his boat. An entire night wasted on the water had yielded no fish. He had toiled relentlessly only to come up empty. Andrew was washing the nets beside him. He too was disappointed at the lack of fish. Peter looked up at the clouds and listened to the seagulls fly out to sea. Perhaps the birds would have better luck than him. He sighed and began to close his eyes and rest. The gentle breeze rolled in from the water and gently rocked his boat. Peter's moment of peace was quickly interrupted by the sound of people. Peter opened his eyes and saw hundreds of people following Jesus. They were so desperate to hear him that they were nearly trampling him to get closer. Jesus could see Peter and Andrew from a distance. He waved and jogged over to them. "Would you mind letting me use your boat to teach from? The crowds will trample me if I don't get above them." Peter agreed. His boat might as well get some use for that day. Jesus spoke for a while. Peter listened from behind, half listening, half daydreaming. After Jesus was finished, he turned back to Peter and Andrew. "Why don't we go out into the deep and put your nets out for a catch?" Jesus asked. Peter gave a condescending laugh. "Master, we have toiled all night and have nothing to show for it." He looked at Jesus. He was earnest and clearly wanted Peter to take the boat out. Peter shrugged. "Fine, at your word, we will go out." So Peter and Andrew reluctantly took the boat out. Peter gathered up the nets and tossed them to the side of the boat. Then Peter sat, knowing that nothing would catch. Just as Peter was getting comfortable, he could hear the sound of stretching rope. The net was tightening on the side of the boat. Peter leaped to his feet and looked overboard. His net was completely filled with fish, so much that the net seemed like it was about to break. Peter, Andrew, and Jesus tugged on the nets and hurled in the largest catch Peter had ever witnessed. The nets on the other side of the boat were overflowing as well, so Peter gestured for James and John to bring out their boats as well. The men rejoiced with their catch. This bigger catch would provide for their families for months. All the men danced in place and shouted for joy, but not Peter. He looked at Jesus and fell to his face. He was broken. He felt unworthy of Jesus' gift. "Depart from me, Lord," he said. "I am a sinful man." Peter bowed his head before him. Jesus knelt down and placed his head on Peter's shoulder. "From now on, I will teach you how to be a fisher of men." So the two of them departed with Andrew, James, and John. Later that evening, Jesus was able to heal Peter's mother-in-law. Peter's entire world was being transformed by Jesus. Jesus was walking among one of the cities, observing the needs of the people around him. As he was pacing the city, Jesus stumbled upon a man stricken with leprosy. The entire left side of his face was mangled, and he could barely lift his arms from the pain of rotting flesh. The man approached Jesus gently. The men who were following Jesus stepped back, but Jesus stepped forward. The leper fell at Jesus' feet. "Please, Lord, have mercy on me." The man began to weep. "If you are willing, I know you can make me clean." Jesus' eyes began to water as he listened to the man's cries. He knew how much pain he was in. He knew how lonely leprosy had made him. Jesus knelt down and hugged him. He held him in his arms as he wept. "I am willing," Jesus whispered. "Be clean." And as Jesus spoke, the leper's limbs and face began to show color once again. The leprosy had left him. The man leapt for joy. He wiggled his arms and kicked his feet. He was a new man. Jesus instructed him to tell nobody of what happened. He was to go into the temple and give thanks to God. However, the man did not listen. He shouted Jesus' name in the city streets. As a result, droves of people came to him with their infirmities. Jesus would spend all day helping them. Then, when the sun set, he withdrew to a secret place to meet with God in quiet.